Okay, I think it's working here.
We're good to go. We're live.
Yeah. All right. So this was a last minute decision. We decided to jump on, Joe and I, and talk about a secret method to get leads off of LinkedIn. I am Chelsea Olson. If you're watching this from my page, you know who I am. I'm a growth consultant who specializes in go-to-market strategy and also in LinkedIn. Joe, do you want to tell them who you are?
Yeah, my name's Joe Lewin, and I run a company called Sell Through Social. And I'm really focusing on small business owners, helping them find the right people and be able to reach them through LinkedIn. Essentially, a way to attract referrals from outside your network is the main thing I'm focusing on for folks. And yeah, I'm also streaming this to my page. So Chelsea is interviewing me, and then so if you're seeing it on my side, thank you, Chelsea, for the opportunity. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I met you, I guess, a couple months ago when we were talking about LinkedIn lead generation because we both use LinkedIn for that and we help our clients generate leads and get new customers off LinkedIn. But our methods were definitely a little bit different. So I have a more classic approach. In 2017, I developed an outbound method that utilized LinkedIn as one of the channels for outbound sales for myself and my clients. It involves the normal things you guys think of when it comes to lead generation, where you are researching your prospects, personalizing connection requests, sending DMs, inviting them to join a webinar or giving them some type of free information, something of value, having a conversation through the messages, and then seeing if it would make sense for you guys to jump on a call. Then you would put them into a discovery call process, and eventually, if it makes sense, close a deal with them. The other thing that I do is create content on LinkedIn. A lot of people think organic LinkedIn content is a great lead driver. I can tell you for most it is not, but it is the second method for generating new clients using LinkedIn. But then there's this third method that I've dabbled with for sure over the years. But Joe, do you want to explain the third method to the audience?
Yeah, and I'll just follow up on what you said with the content not necessarily leading directly to business. I can say that too. I mean, I've been creating content on LinkedIn for a long time. And unless you have something that's extremely unique and you're able to communicate it in a very unique way, you're gonna have a really hard time selling directly through your content or getting opportunities or leads through your content. Like it could happen, and I've gotten a few, but what I've seen happen through creating the content is getting opportunities to speak, being seen as an authority so that when I am talking to somebody, they've already been seeing my face and they built trust. But it's usually something else that actually leads to the opportunity, not the content itself. So if you're creating content going, well, all of a sudden I'm just going to get so much inbound, it's going to fill my pipeline. That's a pipe dream. that's not how it works, for most people in the real world, especially, if you're not a content creator, if you're not going to be creating the top 1% of content out there, and that's just not you. You can still use LinkedIn as a way to generate opportunities, but probably not through content alone. So what I've been focusing on is the main idea is the market doesn't care. Your ideal customers don't care about you. They don't care about your products and services. They're not sitting out there going, man, I wish that Chelsea would reach out to me today and sell me what she's offering, or I wish Joseph would reach out today and sell me something. Like nobody's thinking like that, right? They're thinking about themselves and their pain points and their problems. And so the traditional outreach methods can work, but you really have to hit somebody at the right time with the right offer. It has to be relevant to them. It has to be something that's, the timing fits exactly where they're at right now. Whereas if you reach out to that same person and your offer is a little bit different, which is what we're going to talk about, then you can get that same person to start building a relationship with you, maybe before they're ready to buy. Or if they're in market, they're going to build a relationship with you and a much more trusting relationship with you than if you were to reach out and just sell your service. So the main idea is, instead of reaching out and saying, hey, here's what I offer, you should buy from me, you're reaching out and saying, look, you're super smart. I heard you talk about this topic, or I saw you post about this, or, on your profile, you talk about how you have expertise in, a certain area. I'd love to have you on my show to share your expertise. And you'll find that the amount of people who will agree to come on a show like what we're doing right now is way higher. Like I usually get totally cold outreach if I build a list on LinkedIn, and I've done it for myself and then worked with clients in a lot of different industries. It's usually between like 5 and 15% of people will actually book on a show with you that you reach out to cold. So in an hour and a half of outreach, get between like 1 and 3 people who say, sure, yeah, I'll come on your show. And these are decision maker people. They're people who are influential in the industry that will say, heck yeah, I'd love to come on your show. And then, yeah, there's different processes for being able to turn that into a business conversation that we could dive into a little bit more.
I love this approach. So to take people through the process, it does still involve you going onto someone's profile that's considered a prospect, an ideal customer profile. So it's your ICP. You're going on their profile. You identify them as a good fit. You do have to send a connection request, and then you have to send some type of follow-up message. But the message isn't, just to ask a question or to ask them into a discovery call. It's to get them onto a show, a LinkedIn Live, even a podcast for some people.
Yep.
It could be a webinar if that's something your company does as well. But you're seeing that the response rate and then the rate of people who actually commit to coming and talking to you is a lot higher than just that simple ask of, would you chat with me real quick for 15 minutes on a discovery call?
Yeah, and I mean, there's a couple pieces that I think are important to cover. That I'll just say, if you're having any of these thoughts, we should cover this in a second, Chelsea. So if you're thinking, well, this is a bait and switch tactic, I don't like that. We'll cover that in a second, because if you do it the wrong way, yeah, it's bait and switch. But there's a different way to think about it that makes it really valuable for the person on the other end. And then the other thing is, if you're thinking you have to have something really clear, or you have to be charismatic, or you have to have a show that's already established, that's not true. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Like you said, it could be LinkedIn Live, it could be podcast, you could pre-record it and run it live. You can also interview them for a book that you're writing, and it could take you 5 years to write the book, but it doesn't really matter what the content is. The idea is that you're reaching out to people. And then the one other thing I'd say to kind of add on to what you just said is, it doesn't have to be prospects. Some of the best opportunities that I've seen come out of doing this is connecting with people who influence my prospects. So that could be people who are industry influencers. It could be potential partner opportunities for me. It could be people that sell something similar. So for instance, this conversation we're having right now, I'm probably not going to buy your services. You're probably not going to buy mine. But the people that we sell to, both of us have kind of complementary services to each other. And so us working together on and having this conversation, there's a lot more reach into the right audience. And so the fact that I'm coming on your show now gets me exposure to your audience, and vice versa. And then, after we're done with the call, instead of saying, hey, this is what I do you want to buy my services? We finish the call and go, man, it seems like there could be some opportunity to partner together, to work together. Is that something you'd be open to? And so then that's a much easier sale and a much easier pitch to somebody when you're done than, do you want to buy my services? And then what I've seen come from that are actual closed deals, referrals, partnerships, and speaking engagements. There's all kinds of opportunities that come from that. And I think when I say that, a lot of times people's response is, well, this is a long-term thing. I've actually seen deals close faster when I interview somebody who's trusted, that doesn't buy from me, and they make an intro for me to somebody else. I've seen those deals close in less than 2 or 3 weeks, which is even faster than when I've interviewed somebody directly that could be a client of mine.
Interesting. Yeah, I've used this tactic for, I want to say 10 years, way before LinkedIn, and it wasn't necessarily doing it to close deals. Okay. That wasn't the intention at first. It was really what you're talking about, to grow relationships, to put on a webinar. At the time, it was more like webinars for my target audience. But then what ended up happening is, every time I would invite a guest on, we would talk so much and we'd develop a relationship that sometimes they would become my client, because I'm asking them questions. I'm learning more about them. It's like market research. So then I'm like, oh, I can help you with this, or maybe it wasn't immediate, but down the line you develop that relationship. You do become a referral source for each other. So this has been going on for me for like almost a decade, where I would put on webinars, roundtables with a partner, and then now
Yep.
we're in each other's network. And that's how I've become successful in some respects, right? Is like through this partnership and doing these events. But now it's so accessible with LinkedIn, and it's so easy once you learn how to do this LinkedIn Live to bring people on and just talk to them, learn more about them. The other thing is, for me, like, I am trying to build a personal brand. So when I invite people on my show, it's actually not really to get leads right now. It's so my audience can learn from people. And that's been the goal.
Yep.
I do these LinkedIn Lives so the people watching, the people who engage with me, can learn something new. And we're on this learning journey together. So Joe, little tips, right? If someone wanted to try this approach, what advice would you have?
Yeah. So I love what you just said, and that's what makes it not bait and switch, right? When
Mm-hmm.
when your mindset going into it is, I want to build relationships with people that are going to help me grow my business. I'm going to help them grow their business. And then you detach from the outcome. So the real key is you need to interview the right people that could actually help you move your business forward. If you just interview random people, you're not going to see something come from it. But if you
Mm-hmm.
interview the right people, and then your mindset going in is detaching from the outcome. If something happens from this, awesome. If nothing comes from it, I'm helping this person. I'm adding value to them. I'm making them look as good as I can. And then, if there's an opportunity that comes from it, awesome. If you approach it like that, people on the other end feel that, and they want to find a way to help you. They want to find a way to get involved in, and then they'll make intros to people in their network, because they know you're not going to just turn around and hard pitch somebody. You become more of a trusted advisor at that point. As far as practical tips, I mean, what you shared is right on. I mean, you just find, you look for people who would benefit your business and who you can really serve and highlight, and people that have a point of view that's going to benefit your audience. And then there's a couple ways that you could start from an outreach perspective. You could do totally cold outreach. You could get on Sales Navigator and send, not even connect with people, and send them a message saying, hey, I'd love to have you on my show. That's where I'm saying I've got 5 to 15% of people who totally cold outreach like that will say yes through Sales Navigator, just in mail. And then, if you're going to connect, you comment a couple times on somebody's posts, you're paying attention to what they're doing, then it's usually like much higher, 50,
Mm-hmm.
60% of the time. If you engage with somebody's content, they comment back, and then you reach out and say, man, I'd love to have you on my show. I mean, that's like way higher likelihood. So if you start engaging with people, you can reach out to them and invite them to come on your show. But if you're thinking about this and you go, man, I'd like to try this out, but I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the idea, just reach out to somebody that is in your network that you want to build a deeper relationship with. It could be a current customer, could be a peer, it could be a current partner, somebody that you have a great relationship with already, and just say, hey, I'd like to try this LinkedIn Live thing, and reach out to them and ask them to come on. And that way you're more comfortable, you work out the kinks. Invariably something's going to go wrong when you go live, like it did for us. We're kicking this off. My camera was all messed up, but I had to switch gears. So if you're doing the first one with somebody you're comfortable with, and you just get it scheduled, like schedule for next week, before you even schedule it, just get somebody to say, sure, I'll do it. Get it on the calendar. Once you've done the first one, you're going to go, this feels almost exactly like being on a Zoom call.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be having basically the same conversation if we were on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you just run it, get comfortable, and then reach out to people who are new and start building relationships with them.
You have a program, though, that teaches people how to do the tech side of this stuff. I know for me, that's what my clients typically struggle with, is they don't know the tech stack that's going to make this as easy as possible, not just for going live, but also for outreach. Kind of like you said, we see the same things, like commenting on people's posts before you reach out. I've had 40% acceptance rates, 50% acceptance rates just from that strategy alone. But it is a method, and it's a process, and there's tech involved to save you a lot of time. So what are you doing now if people are interested in doing this method? What do you have going on for those?
Yeah. So I do have a process that I've developed. And so, the basic idea we just explained today. So if you want to do it, you want to do it on your own, set up StreamYard, run with it, invite people. If you're really on it, you can do it on your own. But I found that there's a lot of shortcuts that you can figure out that will save you a ton of time. So, if you're going, hey, I'd like to close deals in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, then, having the extra help and the coaching and momentum to get it going is extremely helpful. And then, like you said, the tech side, like what tools should you use? How should you use them? How do they work? And you want to save yourself some time on that. So I work one-on-one with some clients, but I also have a group coaching program, and I'm actually launching one tomorrow. So if this is something that you're interested in doing, I have a 90-day group coaching program that launches tomorrow. And that's where once a week, getting together with a group of other people that are wanting to grow their business, wanting to build relationships with people. And then we'll be walking through the steps of how to run the LinkedIn Live, and then providing the accountability over that 90-day period so that it goes from being something that's like, hey, this would be cool, to creating the momentum and the habits to keep doing it over and over again. And the main idea is that when you're done with that 90-day program, you now have a new business development system that you're able to run to get opportunities and to get relationships and pipeline. You don't have to rely on outside help or an outside agency in the same way, because you have a system that you understand and you can implement on your own. And then you could bring in other people to help scale that up and take it from there. So if you're interested in that, shoot me a DM, because we're kicking that off tomorrow.
Which is so exciting. And it's not just LinkedIn. So LinkedIn Live is one of the platforms that your content streams on, but you can do this with Instagram, YouTube. I don't know about Facebook with the tech, right?
I think it's Facebook, but you have to have at least 100. I think Facebook and Instagram, they literally just changed it like this week, where you have to have 100 followers. So if you have more than 100 followers, you can stream to Facebook, Instagram, I think X, Twitch. I don't know that. I don't know that would be super helpful for most of us. But yeah, YouTube. You can stream to all kinds of different platforms. You could do it live. We talked about this before, but if you use a platform like StreamYard, which is what we're using right now, you can stream to multiple at the same time. So like you're streaming to LinkedIn and Instagram, I'm streaming to LinkedIn and YouTube. And so, you can multi-stream to several platforms and reach the audience. And then if you're not comfortable doing it as a live, you can record exactly like this and just hit a button and it'll push it live for a future date, and roll with that.
That's how I was doing it for a while. To be honest, I would have people come on Zoom and I would record the Zoom, because I always felt like the intro was a little bit rocky. And if I wanted to redo it, I could stop the recording and be like, wait, hold on, I'm going to re-record, but now I've gotten comfortable and I just don't have those feelings anymore. So I'm cool to just press a button. But yeah, the technology today is amazing. One thing I want to touch on, though, is this idea with LinkedIn and it not being a place where you can generate new business. So I commented under someone's post recently. It was about cold calling. And I said, like learning LinkedIn and cold email is actually like a higher conversion rate for new business. And then like people were kind of in the comments like, no, that's not true. You must only sell to salespeople and recruiters. I'm like, no, actually,
it's ridiculous.
Agnostic method that's across all industries. And I've been doing it for over, I've been doing sales for over 20 years, but this method for like 8 years, 7 years. And I've seen it work. Now, I'm sure there are certain industries where this wouldn't work. I've ran into one that was an issue where it was like a specific role at the hospital and it was really hard to connect and get them to engage on LinkedIn. But I have done this like in the strangest industries that you would think, the users aren't active. It's like, they don't need to be. They see the email notification. So it's just a pain point of mine when people say this, like, only recruiters and salespeople are on LinkedIn. So can you talk to me about some industries that this has worked for? I know you have some unique ones.
Yeah, I would actually say selling to salespeople and marketers, you'll have an easier time potentially getting guests, but a harder time actually closing deals, because it's way more saturated. So when you go to some of these industries that aren't saturated, people are hungry for content in their space. So one of my clients does pen testing for cybersecurity, and we've been booking guests super easily for him. We're getting some people who are fairly influential in the space, like white hat hackers who have developed pretty significant programs that people are using that on the first ask, they're like, sure. We basically didn't even have a show at that point. We done two episodes and reach out to this guy who's fairly influential, and he's like, heck yeah, I'll come on.
Mhm.
And then my brother has been using this method for a while. He sells a extremely high end radar system to primarily to correctional facilities, and he's been getting people who are the head of correctional facilities to come on his show. They share expertise, and now he from his first LinkedIn Live that he did, he closed a $700,000 deal with a client who prospect who had gone dark. The prospect was completely ghosting him, and then the guy joined him for a LinkedIn Live, and ended up a week later going, "Hey, I just had 500 grand open up in budget. I'd love to have you come join my show." I mean, I'd love to have you uh, work with you guys. And he sent the name of his procurement lady, and they closed a deal in 6 weeks or less. That normally takes 18 months to close that kind of a deal. Um,
Mm.
and then this week he was reaching out to me and told me he got a speaking opportunity on a panel where 20 of the top decision makers at the best accounts that he could possibly ask for are going to be guests, and he's going to be on the panel. And that came from building the relationships through LinkedIn Live and then starting to create that personal brand content. But he's selling a very niche product in a very niche industry.
Mhm.
Also seen it in biotech with like chief medical officers and people on that side. So it's definitely not limited to sales and marketing and recruiters. It's actually way easier if you're not.
Yeah. So by correctional facilities, you mean jails?
Yeah, prison
Yeah.
facilities.
Prison.
It's actually,
Okay. So if it's working there, I don't
yeah,
think they hang out on LinkedIn all that much, to be honest.
yeah, but you'd be surprised. So I was doing a training for this group of people in biotech, and they were all people who had worked in the pharmaceutical industry. Well, most of them were doctors. They'd worked in the hospital for like 10, 15 years. Then most of them had worked for a pharmaceutical company for another 15, 20, 25, 30 years. And then they came to work as consultants for this company. So these people are like 30, 40 years into their career. And every single one of them, except for one out of 15 people, said they log into LinkedIn at least once a week.
Yeah.
And I mean, these are all people that I would have assumed, even though I spend a ton of time on LinkedIn myself, that they would have, log in every once in a while. But they said once a week they log in, see how things are going. So if you're in those industries and you're creating content with those types of people, you interview them. What are their peers going to see?
Yeah.
Nobody else is posting content in that space. So what happens is you start showing up as the primary person who's creating content on LinkedIn, and you're interviewing the people who will then their peers will see it, and then their peers are going to be excited about the show because somebody that they know in the field is sharing expertise that's helpful. So anyway, I kind of I'll stop. You got me going out of thread.
No, it makes sense because it's the other element too of this where in this day and age, you have to create a personal brand. We're just at that point. It's really hard to get new opportunities, to advance your career if you don't have some type of online presence. And if you don't have one, that says kind of a lot about you. Yes, you're busy. I get it. I'm busy. I'm a single mom. I have 2 kids. I run a business, and I'm also the head
Yep.
of business development for a company. So I can do it. You can do it because if you care and you want to do it, you'll get it done. So just showing up once every 2 weeks, even like that's going to
Yep.
create some type of content for you. And you can clip that content using programs like Munch or Opus and start creating a little bit of content. And then you get a brand going. You step slowly into it. But if you want a new
Yep.
job, you want a new opportunity, you want to launch a business one day, you have to have some type of online presence. And I feel like this is the easiest way to get that going because just posting
Totally
on
agree.
LinkedIn, like static content, even, doing static content with selfies,
Yeah.
it's not driving leads for most people.
Yeah, not yeah. No, I totally agree because I've done the same thing. Like I have spent years creating
Mhm.
content, and I've had content that's gone semi-viral. I mean, not like crazy, but gotten 300 to 500 engagements, hundreds of comments. Some of them have like 75 shares on them. And I have gotten like a podcast opportunity from one of those posts. And there's some opportunities that have come, but not business, not closed business.
Yeah.
And you would think that the viral posts are the ones that would get you business, but they usually don't. But I'm closing business, like this business that I launched is fairly new, and I've been closing business purely through LinkedIn, building relationships, and I've gotten invited to speak at events. And because I spoke at that event, I've gotten closed deals that came from that event. And so it just creates when you're showing up on LinkedIn, you're building a personal brand, it creates other opportunities that drive deals as well. And to your point, um, I've done training on LinkedIn, and the classic idea, and what you'll see with most LinkedIn training, is to focus on create personal brand content. But that's really hard to do. Like if you're not, I'm a marketer. I've been creating content for a long time, and I struggle with that. and I actually do have a unique point of view on some of this stuff, and it still is hard for me to do it consistently, regularly, come up with those ideas. And when I've done it really consistently, like I said, I've gotten opportunities, but not necessarily closed deals. So if you're looking to get started on LinkedIn and you want to actually drive business, I would encourage you to not be creating a lot of the of posts initially. Instead, do a LinkedIn Live. It's way easier. You literally can take about 30 minutes to prep your guest, to set it up. If you're doing the outreach, maybe it's an hour prep and setup. You record the live, that's another hour. So in 2 hours, you're able to build a relationship with somebody who you wouldn't have been able to connect with otherwise. And then you have content that's starting to get out there. And then you do that for a month or 2 or 3. And now you're going to start learning from experts and actually have a point of view on something that you know is resonating in the market. You're going to get comments and people are going to be leaning into a certain thread. Now you actually have something to talk about. So then after you've done, these lives for a while, you go, man, everybody that I'm having on is having the same issue. This is something I should talk about. Now you have something to create personal brand content that's going to get traction from this small group of raving fans you're starting to create from the people you've interviewed. So by far the easiest way to get started and actually drive deals at the same time.
Absolutely. And I take these videos that are half-hour long and I put them into a system that chops them up for me into 30-second clips. And then I reuse that too. So throughout the week, I can sprinkle in video content with some of those static posts and selfies because, they work for everyone, by the way, including men. I've posted about that, but that's for another time. And then you all of a sudden, you have 4 or 5 posts for the week done. And you're not taking a lot of time. So with your method, you would say anybody who's trying to increase awareness, grow their personal brand, looking for new clients, that this would be a good fit for them. Any industries that you specialize in at the moment?
I mean, the people that I am leaning into from like a marketing standpoint are small business owners that do some kind of consulting, or they run a small agency, just because those are the folks that I tend to want to work with and kind of get the idea the fastest. But some of the people I'm actually seeing get the best results are people who are individual sales contributors at a bigger company, just because they already work for an established brand. It's a little bit easier for them to get going. So, I mean, really, if you sell something that's over $2,500, $1,500 lifetime value, you can be closing enough deals through this to be getting regular pipeline from it. But yeah, if you're in the small business side of things, you're selling B2B, you could use this method and actually be driving deals through it for sure.
That's where we cross over a lot. So I typically work with companies that are a little bit larger. Sometimes I'll work with a startup, but I like working with more established companies. And I take their sales staff and I turn them into brand ambassadors, promo ambassadors on LinkedIn using my method. So setting up their profiles, having it all be the same, and then also doing my outreach method. And if the company is a good company and the CEO wants growth, they will allow their sales staff to do this method and enable them to do courses, do trainings on LinkedIn, try new things. So if you work, I do want to say this, if you work for a bigger company and you're responsible for a book of business and generating a pipeline, you should try this method. You might have to get some type of approval from leadership because you're associated with their brand, but definitely give this a try because I'm sure all of your competitors are doing the same thing. They're cold calling, they're doing cold email, LinkedIn outreach. this is disruptive. This is different, and you will see results. I promise you. I've never seen somebody not close business from doing lives, webinars, roundtables, podcasts, whatever you want to call it. All right, Joe, we don't have that much more time, so they can definitely DM you. Do you want to drop any other information? Maybe we could do it in the chat or on LinkedIn, because I know the program starts tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow. I mean, it's just sellthroughsocial.com. If you go there,
okay,
then you can find it. I'll post it on the live. Actually, I'm on your live, so I'll post it right here. And then if you're watching it on mine, you could just go to my profile, and it's one of the top, one of the links that's there, or you click visit my profile on the top of my LinkedIn, and it'll bring you right there. Or you can shoot me a DM. But yeah, $1,500 for the 90-day sprint, and you're going to learn all about how to run this process. We talk about how to actually run a LinkedIn Live, then we talk about how to join into conversations already happening, which makes it a lot easier and gets you involved in a network of people who are active and doing similar things. And then the final month, we're really focusing on how do you turn that interview into a business conversation, and how do you navigate the post interview to actually see business results come from it. And yeah, I mean, just to wrap up from my side, I've been getting speaking engagements and closed business through those, and then actual closed deals with new clients through running this method myself. And I mean, within less than 30 days of launching the business, I had closed a monthly client that's led to other opportunities through her as well, using this exact process and this method. So it's not a long-term brand building thing only. It does that, but you also can actually close deals extremely quickly using this process.
That's what everybody wants. I mean, that's what everybody tells me. They want new customers in 30 days. I don't make those guarantees, by the way. I'm a 90-day plus girl. I mean, I even say 6 months with what I do. But if you're going to stand by that, you'll probably have your phone right.
I'll say you can close them in 30 days.
Yeah, you can. But I think 90 is fair.
90 to 180 days. If you're interviewing the right people and you're taking the time to really listen to what people are saying, and you tweak your offer to be something that people actually want to buy, then you'll be closing deals in 90 to 180 days. And if you interview people in market, or you have something that's really unique position that's kind of hard to describe to people, that's where you could close deals faster, because you talk to somebody, they probably don't need what you have, but they know somebody who does. And if you're, again, looking to add value, put the other person first, see how you can serve them, they're going to want to reciprocate, and they'll make referrals to people in their network. It's actually insane. That's the thing that when I'm working with people that they get the most surprised about is they get on the call with somebody they've never talked to, and that person goes, man, you need to know this other person. And they'll make a warm intro to somebody in their network. Like, it's crazy. That's the part that still blows my mind every time it happens. I'm like, man, it's pretty cool.
Relationships still matter for business, for sales. AI tech, it can't replace relationships. And that's what you're doing through this, which is wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing your secret. This is the third way to generate leads off LinkedIn, and nobody's really doing it, honestly.
I love it. Yes. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. Thanks for coming. And guys, if you're watching, thank you for listening. All right.
Still says we're live for some reason.